Welcome everybody back, man. Another live stream. Make sure I got everything pulled up here. Um, Today we got a quick episode. Today. We got some Lions news recently. Arthur Maulet was waived from the Lions, so I thought, okay, that's worth. Let me back up a little bit. That's worth pointing out as some news here. It seems like the Lions are going to be getting somebody back injury wise. If that's the case, then moving off Arthur Maulet because Maulet's snap counts have went down. He only played 3 this past week, but he was valuable for us. He was a good player for us. So now after being let go, it seems like we're on track to have somebody returning this week. So I wanted to make this episode to quickly touch on that. And then also, I put together a list, man, early keys to victory. You know what I mean? Just early keys to victory. Thought we'd get in and out with it. And then, tomorrow we'll have a deeper dive into the Green Bay Packers. But this is kind of the first look that I have on the Packers. So let's start there first. I see y'all in the chat. Let's start there first, man. Arthur Maulet has been waived. Now, Terry, I'm back. That's what I'm hoping. Right? They said Monday that, he passed the first step of concussion protocol he needed to, and they've had walkthroughs over the first 2 days. Dan just spoke to the media, but we don't really know right now what the updates are on that, though. Again, it's just a walkthrough. So that's potentially on the table, and it would make sense to move off a corner if that's the case. They did get Khalil Dorsey back and DJ Reed back, though, so they're a little bit deeper at corner. Also, Marcus Davenport on the table that he plays. It actually kind of sounds like Davenport is going to play this week. He's been listed with full participation, too, with these walkthroughs. I kind of get the sense he's going to be up for this game. I'm a little bit not sure how much they'll actually use him. Like say he's up. Say he's up for the week. I'm not actually sure how much he's actually going to play in a game like that. Like, I feel like they like Tyler Lacey a lot. So I guess it'd be rotational. And DJ Reed was rotational last week with Rock Ya-Sin. So it would make some sense that they could follow that same path. But again, they could do the same thing with Terrion Arnold as well. And then also Josh Pascal, who I feel like we're still kind of waiting for updates on, but he's practicing. I guess he's kind of practicing. So maybe at some point, Josh Pascal also jumps into this. Nick Whiteside, hey, man, we're pretty good at corner right now. Now, Arthur Maulet, I want to start here because he does bring that nickel flexibility, but I assume then the mindset is, okay, Amik, you're going back inside. So you would think TA is coming back. You're going back inside. If he goes back inside, then you can get DJ Reed a majority of the snaps, and then you could potentially have Rocky Sin opposite, but that means TA would probably likely be available. That way you can do this. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm looking at it like you, Charles. I'm hoping like you, Charles, that this is what this is. But I do want to take this time to show some love to Arthur Maulet because, dude, he played good football for us. He played 100 defensive snaps, and I went back and I was like, let me watch some of this again. Played well against Philadelphia. Like I say, he only played 3 snaps this past week. One of them was a touchdown to give to the Giants. So it's not he's not ending on a positive note here, but he could end up being back at some point. I mean, there's a potential, like down the road, we sign him back. We need him. I'd be on board with it too. I mean, he left playing well, did a lot of good things in zone. Where I thought he really shined for us is anytime a play broke down, right? This dude was so sound in the secondary. Like if you watch him when he's matching vertical routes and he'd pass them off and he'd drop and he kind of had a feel for it. He had a really good feel for spacing in zone. He'd undercut routes and he'd go find guys when plays broke down. I thought Arthur Maulet did a lot of good things, even in man coverage, and he could press him a little bit. And he was typically going to contest some things, kind of like, Kendall Vildor when he would contest it, but sometimes he give the catch. He had a tendency to do that. And I think for him, a little more than anything, obviously he's not as, big, but also like he would give up some separation through the route. Like at the top of the route, he'd give up some space. That would show up, right? He gave separation, he get declared. I think the vertical speed gave him some problems, and some of the short area quickness was a little bit limited too, where guys would just separate him and snap off routes. But he was really good at the line of scrimmage. He was really good in press situations, really good at the line, didn't get separated off the line, quick feet in those spots. So I like Arthur Maulet, and I'm grateful we brought him in, and maybe at some point we get him back. That's one thing I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for you, Arthur Maulet, handling business. So now that's a question of who's going to be back, and then also the flip side of, we got to hit on some of these early keys. And I got some good ones. So let's go to that first. Some of these early keys to this game that I have. Let's go to that first just for time reasons. Then we'll come back to who's going to get back. Because right now it's all kind of speculation. My guess would be Terrion they're feeling good about because after yesterday, them saying, hey, man, this guy, cleared the first step. My guess is he cleared the second step today. And they're like, all right, let's move off him. We're going to get TA back in this game. Even if he is rotational, we'll just have him rotate with Rock Ya-Sin. And we're going to lean heavy into DJ Reed. Plus, by the way, I think Rock Ya-Sin could be a very important matchup for this game due to Christian Watson alone. Like the Packers are probably going to be pretty healthy at receiver. So getting having Rock Ya-Sin for Christian Watson could be very valuable just size-wise. Like they may not want to constantly put DJ Reed there. I would assume they would. But size-wise, it does help us a little bit. So here's my early keys shared on the screen. And a lot of these, I'm sharing the wrong thing. Hold up. A lot of these, though, the interesting thing about this, a lot of these are actually very similar to what it was against the Giants and what I guess worked against the Giants. So some of this is going to translate pretty well. The first thing I have at the top is leaning on Colby Wooden and Devontae White. And I actually have some clips for this. We'll show a few of them. I'm saving these, kind of stockpiling them at this point, but I have a few of them. Leaning on these two guys in the interior, right? I mean, this past week against Minnesota, I thought they got pushed around. Specifically, Colby Wooden did. I think Devontae Wyatt's always been a little up and down. They have some good pieces on that defensive line, but I think Colby Wooden's just been inconsistent. You've been able to kind of run directly at him. And then interior defense line as a whole, ever since they kind of moved off Kenny Clark, was like looked at as a question mark. They're athletic. They get upfield. They can give you real problems in terms of causing pressure. Carl Brooks can be a little hit and miss against the run, but he gets after it too. But when you think about like what was the strategy we talked about yesterday against Green Bay, and you have to being able to lean on those interior guys. I mean, Dan Campbell came out, and I think he said it today. He was like, Mike Parsons, really good player. I like our O-line. I like our tackle position. And the tackles were dogs last week, right? They're going to be tested again, but they were dogs last week. So let's continue that. Kingsley Enagbari has been a good player for him. He had a huge fourth down. I think it was a fourth down stop. He had last week against Minnesota, like a 4th and 1 from the 15-yard line. But the two guys in the interior, they can be moved. The next thing to that is the flip side. And again, this is good because this has actually been going well for the Lions. Interior defense line needs to stay on a heater. Ali McNeil playing on a heater right now, right? This guy coming off his best game so far this season. Interior offense line for the Packers, not so much. Not so much. I actually think Sean Ryan has sparked that offensive line for them in the inside. All right, Jordan Morgan, just hit and miss. He's young. And really, Aaron Banks looking very disappointing for this team. So for me, Sean Ryan would be the guy that I would circle of this mix that feels like he's getting it going. They're also another pretty heavy downhill rushing team. Like a lot of stuff is very downhill. And with the way that Aleem played this past week, I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to do a pretty good job here. And if this defensive line, the interior stays at the rate they were playing the last 2 weeks, we're going to be in a good spot. Now, the concern is they lean on their tight ends a lot. Josh Wiley in the run game, even without I can't think of who the top tight end is, but even without him available, they still lean on these tight ends a lot for their run success, which I assume is where they're going to have to turn to against us. So it'll test our DBs, but really our linebackers are DNs, and we could give up some things there, just like we did last week against the Giants. But at very least, we got to be good in a spot where we're supposed to be good. And that's on the interior. Also, but here's the thing about that. Ali McNeil playing a defensive end, I would consider it again. I would absolutely consider it against these guys on early downs. I would 100% consider it, especially if a guy like Davenport's not back or Pascal. I would consider putting him out there for that reason alone. Like, I want us to be consistent at taking on those pulling blocks at the defensive end spot. And I think that's the biggest weakness we have right now on paper in this matchup. Their tackle play is good. They lean heavily on Zach Tom. Rasheed Walker has done a pretty good job. Some things in pass pro have been shaky, but he's done a pretty good job. I would have no issue putting a lean back at defensive end for this game, for this matchup specifically for this game. But again, Ali McNeil was awesome last week, and Roy Lopez has been great. It was the first time Ali McNeil looked like Ali McNeil this past week. I was pretty blown away watching that game back. So those guys continue to do their thing. I'd think about pushing Aleem outside because Roy Lopez has been playing so well. The next aspect to that is kind of the same thing that ties together. I put Tampa 2 on here. I thought Minnesota did this really well, and I thought it actually found a lot of success when they sat back in Tampa 2 against Green Bay. I thought it slowed down a lot of their vertical passing. That's so much of what Green Bay is. The challenge is doing that without getting ran all over. But they did a pretty good job. So those two things go hand in hand. You handle that well, you can do the Tampa 2 stuff. You'll be fine. The other element to that, too, I'm going to jump to the bottom. I also like zone blitzing Jordan Love this time around. I kind of like that. I think Jordan Love has done a great – it's not even about maybe making him make bad throws, because Love has made some throws this year. I got to move his flowers. He's made some ridiculous throws, especially over the last few weeks. Where this guy, I mean, he's not even seeing the routes break. He's just putting it out there, giving this guy a chance, and they're making plays. It looks nuts watching some of these plays. So if he's going to do that, I got no issue with heating him up, getting the ball out faster. And the main reason is just to hopefully have him miss some reads, right? Like, have him miss some. We're going to have guys that are, limited underneath in terms of what we can help. So if we can hold things vertically, get the ball out fast, that we're not giving up these big shots. And then underneath, we just limit the real estate we have to deal with because we're getting after the quarterback. Then you give Alex and those guys a chance to just be reactive and play fast. I mean, you understand that he's going to have to get out faster, but it takes off a lot of the seeing everything on the field, which he's very capable of, and putting the ball everywhere. So I would think about getting after him a bit. That, of course, ties into slowing down Christian Watson, who's been awesome this season too. Christian Watson was great last week. Christian Watson's awesome, right? And vertically, like Greg said, Rocky Sin might match up well. DJ Reed might match up well. It doesn't sound like Kirby Joseph's going to be back yet. This is the guy that typically I think shakes the game up for us. He's the guy that creates the explosive. He's the guy that gets over top, and all of a sudden the game changes just like that. So slow down Christian Watson. And then finally, I put cleaner offense. This one's very straightforward. Look, man, last week we were not clean on offense, but a lot of the same things are probably going to have to carry over to this week to the strategy ultimately. So again, starts at the top, creates a movement. But, dude, we can't have that many drops. We can't have the weird, spiking it and then calling the timeout, even though I think they said it was like an issue with the headset. Point is, like, and we're going to have mistakes. but we can't at least pile them. If you have a bad play on first down, let's get back on second down to a positive. Because against these guys, I think that margin for error gets even smaller, and I think a lot of the style is going to look very similar. So those two things have to kind of come together for us to have a real shot in this game, to stick in this game as we kind of go forward. And if we're going to get any explosives, it has to come together, because I just don't see us creating mega explosives on second and third alone. Like, I just don't see that being on in the cards for us. And Green Bay's really good in those spots. Like, they are one of the better disguising teams, I think, defensively in football. I mean, a lot of times it's too deep coverage that they get to, but they're really good at it. And I think they're really tough to hit, like, oh, hey, it's third and long, let's get to a dagger. Like, it's tough. It's tough for you to open it up. They clean those things up pretty well. They're very athletic, super flexible, versatile. So we got to be on top of it. That way we can at least create some shot plays, create a few shot plays. You know what I mean? Just a few. So those are my early keys. This is kind of where I'm at for this game. Ma'am hopped in and said, Maulet's gone. Maulet's gone, man. He's been waived today. Me and Charles are hoping that, that means Terron Arnold's on his way back. We had so many bad defensive players last week, Barnes and Reed. You said bad. I thought DJ Reed did a good job. Now, DJ Reed had an ugly play. I'll give you that. I thought DJ Reed did a good job. I'm actually really optimistic for DJ Reed coming back. Now, I'm saying that without having gone through the All-22, only did the condensed replay. I thought he did a good job in that. You know what I mean? Going through that, I thought he did a good job. Barnes been, a little up and down. Like, it's been like that. Plus, he was put on like the most disastrous play of all time. Like, I mean, literally, let's be fair. There's no coming back from that. There's no coming back from that for Derek Barnes. That happens. Hey, it's over. You know what I mean? Reputation tainted. All right. That was like the Cowboys play in the end zone. The only difference is we won this game. We would have lost that game. You're cooked. You know what I mean? But hey, we won the game. So it's all right. We forget. We move on. Just like Hales. We're moving on from the Giants game. It's already over. We're done. All right. I love to see Brian Branch, Jack Blitz. I think so. I think that's what we're gonna see. And now I don't always like, but I love blitzing Branch because he's great at it. But then you also lose him, which I kind of hate too, because I like having him back there. I mean, this is the kind of guy that's gonna lurk some things. But I do like getting after him a little bit in this game. I like speeding it up, trying to slow down some of those vertical shots, and just hopefully get the ball out faster. I mean, if you're gonna get a turnover, I feel like that's where you're gonna have to get it. It'll probably still have to be contested, but something like that, or a tip pass, right, where you're coming after him, he gets tipped at the line, it gets flipped up, and all of a sudden we get a pick. Something like that feels like it's going to have to be what makes it happen. But again, that all comes back to stopping the run. Goff throwing with too much mustard and surprised the receivers versus the Giants. I didn't even see that. Okay, I didn't look at it that way. Maybe I should have. I didn't even think about it that way. That he was putting a little zip on it. All right, I didn't know that. I didn't notice that at all. I didn't notice that at all. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I gotta lock in, I guess. Were the shots downfield? Nothing, JMO. Well, I thought there was shots downfield. I mean, it depends what you consider a shot. If you're just talking about a vertical go ball to JMO, yeah, we didn't have those. But there was shots. I mean, we probably had about 4 or 5 legitimate shot, but maybe even more than that. Most of them were to St. Brown. And again, look, we went through the breakdown yesterday. I would definitely encourage you to check it out. What's up, Eric? I thought for the Lions in that game, it was straightforward. Like, hey, we get a single high safety, we're throwing against it. And that's where they created all their shots. They got cover 3, they went play action, they hit their shots. And we also had one of them was a drop on kind of a deep end breaker. But for the most part, like with how they played for the Lions, again, like the biggest point to that was I think they wanted to play the game of we have to understand that we got to be able to block for that. So they didn't want to put themselves in that risk consistently. But I would say that we had about 4 or 5 deep passes. It was, you said a drag. It was a drag? I saw that it wasn't a deep pass. It was, as you said, a drag. Wait, which one? I'm confused. I'm confused. I'm thinking the down and up route that St. Brown had against cover 3 is about 30 yards. That was one that I would consider. A drag pass that was called back. Oh, you're talking about the screen to JMO. You're talking about the screen. Okay, so you're specifically talking about Jameson specifically. You're talking about the little screen that he ran. I got you. Yeah, that one was called back. And by the way, Graham was 1 yard. You can only be 1 yard downfield. He got 2 yards downfield to get called ineligible. If he would have just held up a second, it was a beautiful play. It was like 30 yards. I mean, that's also, it's definitely not a shot. But they hit a couple of those at St. Brown. Most of them, again, were just play action sets. And they hit those big open windows against that. I think it was mainly due to the pass rush front that they had there. But to me, that's just what some games are going to call for, and that's fine. That's where both things need to come together. Jameson, you got to catch the 2-yard passes. You got to catch the 4-yard passes, right? You have to have that well-roundedness to your game. To me, I didn't pay him to go deep. I paid him for everything. So we need that well-roundedness to your game. That way you're still impactful. You're still impactful for us. The first sack that we took, we got to get open, right? He wasn't open at all. We got to get open. But those plays have to happen, and that's why I bring it up. Because if he drops those 2 passes and we're in 3rd and 10, we don't get shot opportunities, right? All the shot opportunities are all of a sudden gone. When did we get shots against the Giants? As soon as they put a safety down. And it's got to be in positive down spots, plus down territory, really, to take shots down the field. If it's 3rd and 10, we're not going to get a shot. We might force something, but it's not a legitimate shot we're getting open. So, we catch a couple of those underneath passes. Now we give ourselves a chance on 2nd down and 5 to maybe push the ball down the field. So that's why I bring that up. It's like, be cleaner, give us a chance there. How does backup center Cologne look? See a big grab. I wouldn't move Graham Glasgow at this point. I wouldn't. I thought Graham was fine last week. I wouldn't move him. Again, I would consider KO'd. I would consider putting Cologne at left guard. But based on this last week, I wouldn't bench Graham after this last week. I thought Graham was fine. It wasn't great, but I thought he was fine. There's definitely been worse. If there's other games where I could have made that decision, I feel like that's not one I would have made that decision on. But I would consider left guard. I would consider seeing what that looks like. And I don't know what that's going to look like. He's done it before, but I would consider that more than anything. I wouldn't move Graham at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I would just leave the continuity. I feel like we very least over the last couple of weeks, one thing we can say, while we've had blown blocks, we have been cleaner in terms of picking up assignments. There has been much cleaner protection across the board, right? We've missed some, but we've had cleaner protection. We've at least had guys there for the most part. So I wouldn't move him at this point. Slow down Micah. Yeah. They don't have Kenny. Yeah, right. We're not worried about Kenny Clark. Well, he's not there, but slowing down Micah Parsons, and that's going to be as a whole, right? Our tackles have played really well, but he's going to get wins anyway just because that's what he does. JMO guys led 15+ air touchdowns. These non-JMO guys don't bring that up. I love me some Jameson Williams. We just need the full package to come together because there's going to be games where we can do that more consistently. But at this time, in this game specifically, it's not going to be there unless we can be consistent on the other downs. Nite Mutai still on the squad. I don't know. I feel like he's still in the practice squad. Yeah, he should be on. I haven't heard anything about him letting let go. He should be on the practice squad. He should be. Any update on Ahmed? No update. No update on Ahmed. I mean, he's here, right? He's practicing. I get the sense we're not going to see Ahmed play at all this year. And if we do, I think it'll just be special teams. I don't think we're actually going to see him play defensively at all. Got a good feeling about this one. I got a good feeling too. Josh Jacobs, is he playing? Dan thinks he is. So I'll say yes. I'll say he is playing. And I'm going to go to a couple clips before we wrap this up. Just a couple early plays that stood out to me that I wanted to highlight of why my early keys are what my early keys are. And we'll start with the run game first because I want to highlight Colby Wooden. I want to highlight Devontae White, creating some movement, going at these guys because I think it's on the table. You see 96 right there? You see how his back is turned? He's getting just dogged on this play, man. He got flipped around, turned out of the play, getting downhill right at him. That kind of stuff is possible. Oh, Rashawn Gary. Yeah. Okay, Rashawn Gary. That makes sense. I was like, hey, man, look, I forget too. So if you forgot, I get it. Rashawn Gary's tough, though. I feel like Rashawn Gary never pops against us, but he pops against everybody else. You know what I mean? I guess that's a good thing. I mean, I don't want this to start happening, but it just feels like when he plays other teams, like, ooh, Rashawn Gary, tough. He plays us, we don't talk about him at all. It's weird. Here we go. Next time, I think this is Carl Brooks, number 94. You can see him at the top here, working on the right guard, kind of getting just pulled out of the play. I mean, look at this. This guy gets ran to the ground this time. Now, Minnesota, not a bad offensive line, especially as they're getting right here, but you can see that you can push those guys around on the inside. And then passing offense-wise, again, there's a lot of vertical concepts, a lot of smash concepts like this one, right, where you have the corner and then you have the hitch underneath. That's a smash concept. A lot of times it's a cover 2 beater. Here you got a Tampa 2 look. And this is the kind of coverage I like playing because you're making them hit tight windows. But again, that's second and long. You have to get to a spot that you can do that. Watch this throw from Jordan Love. Let's give Love some love. Okay, that sounded crazy. Let's do it, though. I mean, look at this. Defense goes into a cover 3. They're blitzing out of it. You can see they're creating some, confusion in coverage, but they bring an extra blitzer on this play. They have 3 guys underneath. Watch this throw by Love. He's got a man right in his face. They fail to pick it up on the interior, which is something I think we need to expose because they've had multiple issues of this. But this throw by Love is fantastic. I mean, it feels pickable, but it's a great throw. It's like, oh, man, I got to give it to him. It's a great throw. But I'd like to see us go at that. You know what I mean? I like to see us make them work. Again, another smash concept, I think, here. Yep, hitch corner. And this time, Love just uses his eyes, hits the hitch, and they get out. You see a little pressure from Rasheed Walker. He's giving that up. Maybe Hutch cooks him in this game. That would be beautiful. We could use that. I guess Hutch got called out by the Giants O-lineman, which is crazy, but I guess he did. So, he didn't really respond to it, but I guess he did. This again here, Tampa 2. This time, though, they bring the blitz out of it, and so they only have 2 underneath defenders, but 3 underneath defenders. But what I like about this is it speeds the process for Love. Like, everything now is underneath, and at least they're in a good spot. You kind of get these hitches across the board. But the ball gets out fast. This time it gets tipped at the line. I like that because it makes you more just reactive. It kind of shuts down the entire field that he can play through. And he's got to get the ball. And he wants to throw it, which I think is something you have to use to your advantage. I put a little Arthur Maulet in here, too, in the slot, working on Devontae this time. This time again on Devontae Smith. Watch him work underneath this route, working the stem of it. Look how fluid he was. Oh, man. Hey, I liked Arthur Maulet, bro. I'm going to be honest with you. The touchdown was bad, but I liked him. All right. I feel good about this game, too. That's all I wanted to do. I just want to hit on that real quick, get in and out with this video or this live stream. So I appreciate y'all joining. We'll be back. We'll be back shortly. Again, check out Dose of Draft for draft content because we're rolling over there, doing some good things, continuing to work over there. If y'all want to get in on that early. They ran 2 gives flat throws to set up a JMO drag from the swing formation. Got White from Glasgow. Yeah, the screen. It was the Yeah, you're you're talking about you're talking about the screen. I may have missed that. So he's talking about the tunnel screen. And then look, the first two plays were not great, but both of them made sense. The second one made more sense. The second one was we didn't make anybody miss space. We got a yard, and it was cover 3, and they bailed, and Goff just hit the Gibbs. That was fine. The first one was the bobbled pass that he lost 3 yards on. The third one was just a tunnel screen where they faked it to Gibbs, which was a good setup off of it, to your point. Fake it to Gibbs, then he hit the tunnel screen upfield, and it should have popped, and then Graham got 1 yard too far downfield, and it kind of shut that down. J-Mo's not done. Like, he's going to be involved. You're going to see explosives. I just think it's going to be hard to get them consistently against teams like this, especially when you have to deal with Micah. But it's not being there impossible. We played Dallas against Micah, and J-Mo got one over top. But they don't come as often, as Dan Campbell told us. So when they do, we got to hit them. But also on top of that, you have to get yourself in a spot to do it. If you're having to do it, and you really want to be able to do it on second down, but if you have to do it on third down and long, it's just not going to be there, especially against Green Bay, because Green Bay typically does not leave one deep safety. And if they do, they're buzzing, and they're playing very, very soft on the sticks. So they typically won't give you the chance to push the ball down the field. And the Lions, a lot of those spots will probably just concede. And let's be honest, if it's 3rd and 12 and it's early in the game, the Lions will probably just check it down. That's just kind of how I assume they'll play this game. They don't want the fumbles. They don't want that kind of stuff. So they'll just be like, we'll live to play another down. That's my guess. That's just typically how they play it. So the Maulet move didn't bring anybody. We are assuming that somebody's getting healthy. That was kind of the reports, is that someone's probably getting back. Terrion was cleared Monday. So the first step of concussion protocol. The thought is he might be back this weekend, but we don't really know anything yet on that update today. And then tomorrow we'll know more on Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond could be available. They said his ankle swollen. So we're not sure on Khalif Raymond. Also, Marcus Davenport feels like he could be back. It's a different position, but he could be back. We do have Dorsey back. We do have DJ Reed back. I assume Reed's not going to be rotational this week like he was last week. They probably feel pretty good about him. So I'm hoping this means TA's back, and we're good at cornerback. But also Kirby's not going to play this week, and that's not the expectation. So maybe you could use Monty, and this game could make sense for Monty. You pushing those dudes around. I mean, Gibbs was cooking, but I mean, I'm always open to use little Monty. I just think if anything, now you get Monty more involved in the backfield to help pass pro, because Gibbs is like a legitimate receiver for us at this point. We're using him like a receiver, and I'm here for it, man. Like, he kind of is, but he's a tough matchup. It works for us. Now they got athletic linebackers over there, but he's kind of become that number 2 for us. So with that, I'm going to leave it there. I appreciate y'all joining. We'll be back soon. I got to take off, but I wanted to get this quickly in. And yeah, man, I'll see y'all soon, man. Was texting the chat. I appreciate you stopping in, man. I will see y'all soon. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday on the Green Bay Thanksgiving week. Come on, man. A lot of good stuff around the corner. We'll be there. Check out Dose of Draft too if you're bored. I'm out. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see y'all soon.